Storm Watch coverage continues here on the Weather Network, and it's a very active week. We're dealing with huge amounts of rain throughout the BC coast. When we talk about 150 millimeters of rain possible for some areas, it actually applies to both coasts. Yeah, we're seeing that in BC, and then the potential is there with this nor'easter tracking up into Atlantic Canada. Now, I want to get into some of our stories, break down who's seeing what, take a look at the radar, also go through some warnings as well. So we have a look at this. This is our radar, and we can see this snow is actually moving to the west. Usually when we see weather, it's tracking in the opposite direction. Basically, this low, this nor'easter out in Atlantic Canada is retrograding, and it's sending some bands of moisture through Quebec, and this will stretch into Ontario as well. Now, the snow that happened earlier, let's say Tuesday evening, already starting to fall, it created some issues out on the road. So terrible situation. Snow tires are mandatory in Quebec, which is great. In Ontario, they're not. So they're always a good idea, but you will have to drive according to the conditions. So snow moving in. Ottawa looks like it's the next target, and Kasia Badurka, we join you live in the field. And wind gusts, can you speak to those? We could be seeing them around 50 to 60 kilometers an hour gusting today. Have you seen conditions like that as of yet?
No, not yet, Rachel. Rachel.
I know. It's going to be a big story, Kasia, and we're lucky to have you live in the field to continue on with that. Now, this is our live coverage. We have Kasia Badurka in Ottawa, who we were just speaking to, Mike Arsenault in Montreal, Kevin Yard in Toronto now under a special weather statement, and Nate Coleman, he was joining the show earlier from St. John, New Brunswick. So we have a lot of people tracking this story for you, and we love that you're here because we love talking about the weather, and we want to communicate this in as many ways as possible to you, putting your eyes on the ground through these watches and warnings. 2 warnings in place here, winter storm warning as well as snowfall. So traveling along this route here up into Montreal through Trois-Rivières. I drove this route in September, and beautiful in the fall, but throw active weather in the way, lots of winding roads. This could be a dangerous drive. Now, as we look at the storm surge warnings, these come into play. Some very gusty winds through here. This is where we could see rising water levels. Lots of ingredients with this storm. There's a lot to talk about, and there's so many different areas that are going to be affected, but all affected quite differently. Southern Ontario, it's the snow. Big amounts of snow, 10 to 15 centimeters. The number isn't huge, but if you have driven through the GTA, the 401, the Don Valley Parkway, you know that you need only 2 centimeters of snow, really, to cause chaos out on the roads. So we can picture all this snow coming into Southern Ontario. This is going to be problematic. And this is going to be a story through the overnight. As we can see this morning, not too much in the way of snow. This continues to move through this afternoon, through this evening. Your drive through Southern Ontario tomorrow morning, Thursday morning. This is when this system, this snow will be the most impactful for you. Now, as we take a look at the rain story, this is your issue throughout the maritime provinces. We can see southern shores of New Brunswick along Fundy. This is where we are getting into some of the heavier amounts. Now, don't go anywhere. Our coverage, it continues live here on the Weather Network. Well, I'm very glad you're here because we have a lot to talk about, so much that we've called in Chris Murphy.
There you go. So our developing stories for today, the nor'easter for the east, BC states of emergency. That list is growing along with the flood woes and live reports from east to west. We got a big team out in the field across many provinces of the country.
Yeah, and we're going to be bringing you the latest and have a look at what's going on. We have the nor'easter that's impacting Atlantic Canada, stretching into Ontario as well, and then we have our issues going out in BC. Local states of emergency are in play.
Let's start in the east. So this is some running totals as of 2 a.m. and these numbers will only grow. It's kind of like election day. These are some of the early returns, as you can see. So the heavy rain is going to continue to lift northwards. Now it's snowing in Bathurst, but Fredericton and Moncton has all changed over to rain, heavy rain. And Nathan Coleman is in St. John, New Brunswick, a city that is vulnerable to flood.
We could see higher totals. We can see where the snow is falling here. This is the freezing line. It is just lifting north and north. So still seeing the Gaspé into the snow, and Montreal. This is where the snow story is going to be as well.
It's going to push its way westbound and even impacting Toronto as well by tonight and tomorrow, so we'll get to all that.
Yeah, 10 centimeters of snow for Toronto. So have a look at this. This afternoon into this evening, you can see the different types of precipitation that you will see. This pink here, that indicates the mixing line.
It does. Ice pellets, freezing rain, and I think the biggest concern, though, it's the combination of the rain and the wind. Localized flooding, possibly more than just localized, across portions of southwestern Nova Scotia, southern New Brunswick, and then this mixing looking for Quebec City, you're going to see about 10 centimeters of snow, but also ice pellets as well into tonight and continue into tomorrow. And as we mentioned, we've got Mike Arsenault in Montreal, Kasia Badurka in Ottawa, providing all sorts of updates.
Yeah, so I think the one thing that's important to note here for the Maritimes, this is quite a rain story, but once we track east into Quebec, into Ontario, we are dealing with a lot of snow here. So here's a look at some of those totals. Now, this nor'easter isn't the only story we're tracking.
No.
We're busy here. We're also looking into BC. And take a look at this. This is a look at some of the totals that we've seen just as of 10 p.m. Tuesday. Now, we do have our reporter, Deb Matiechka. She is in the area, and she's going to be keeping us up to date on some of the states of emergency. Rock slides as well, also an issue. Highway 1 eastbound at Highway 9, that is closed due to a rock slide.
Yeah, and more rain coming today, heavy at times as well. The wind has also been an issue yesterday, disrupting the ferry service between the mainland and the island. And here's a look at some of the areas under flood watches. And there's flood watches, there's flood warnings, there are high stream flows. But the bottom line here is you want to stay away from any fast-moving water, not just in the streams, but also out on the roads, too.
Yeah, wind gusts are also going to be an issue as well, especially through the strait. This is where we could see some very gusty conditions, and then on the outside of the island as well.
All right, well, it's certainly not a dull day here at the Weather Network. We're in storm watch. We've got our teams all over the place, and we'll be providing you updates all day long.
Eat fresh.
Well, thanks for starting your day with us, and yeah, start it with Subway too. Rachel Schoutsen here with you, and let's look at this. A big storm, and this is going to impact Ontario east right out through to the Maritime provinces. Temperatures slightly warmer throughout Nova Scotia. It's 9 in Halifax, but a lot cooler into Ontario and Quebec, as snow is going to be your issue, yes. And then as we look out towards the west, temperatures are fairly comfortable throughout BC. However, local states of emergency are in play due to rain and flooding. We are tracking this storm, and we are bringing you the best coverage from the field, and I'll be stationary right here in the studio. Jacqueline Whittle will be also joining the show in just a bit, and she'll be bringing her updates as well. Now, as we look at our active weather, there is so much to talk about. We have huge storms out along the BC coast. We have states of emergency in play, serious flooding in Courtenay, BC, rock slides as well. And then we have our story in Atlantic Canada, this nor'easter. That's not your typical textbook nor'easter. No, this is moving far inland, and this is going to be bringing rain and snow and a big mix and a lot of warnings. So we are breaking it all down with you here this morning. So have a look at some of the snow. Basically, the low is a retrograding low, and it's sending this band of moisture out into Quebec and through Ontario. So let's head outside to Kasia. Kasia, you're in Ottawa, and let us know what you're seeing. How is it feeling out there too?
Rachel.
We look forward to your updates, Kasia. Kasia Badurka live in Ottawa. So have a look at how much snow is possible. When we pinpoint Ottawa here in that white zone, that means higher totals, 15 to 30 centimeters possible. What Kasia's seeing now is just the first bite of snow. Still have a lot more to see. Tricky. In Quebec, winter tires are mandatory. In Ontario, they are not. But with this snow, Ottawa being so close through, you really have to be careful with these driving situations. Take it easy, especially if you are traveling along the St. Lawrence here. I did this trip just last September, and driving through here, it's a beautiful drive when there's no active weather, but throw in some active weather, snow on the roads, icy situations. This is a very windy route, so you have to be careful driving through here. Storm surge warnings also coming into play. Strong winds through the St. Lawrence. This is rising some water levels. There's a lot of different elements to this storm, lots of ingredients that are coming into play. When temperatures are just at that freezing mark, we get so many different elements. So have a look at this. The freezing line just about here right now throughout Quebec in towards Nova Scotia, New Brunswick rather. This will continue to rise. We're still seeing snow towards the north and then west. That is all going to be a snow story. Where we are getting into the rain, you can see here that pink indicating the freezing line, and anything south of that is going to be rain. I'll let you know, some areas now are seeing over 40 millimeters of rain already, and this is only going to intensify in towards the afternoon. So there's your depiction, and there it is live. Satellite and radar, these are the returns. St. John around 40 millimeters now. We are seeing Moncton to be in that same situation, and Nate was joining us earlier. We were already starting to see the ponding on the sidewalks, on the roads. Flooding is a concern, especially in frozen ground. Southern New Brunswick, along the Fundy shores, frozen ground through here. So all of that water doesn't have anywhere to go. It can't seep into the ground, and this is where we could get into that flooding situation. So 60 to 100 millimeters of rain possible through Thursday. Key point is through Thursday. This system, it's not your typical nor'easter. It's not just going to get right out of the way. This could linger in through Friday and Saturday as well. Now, don't go anywhere. Our live coverage continues. Kasia Badurka will join the show again, and I'll see you on the other side of this break. We're at it again. Our Storm Watch coverage continues. I'm glad we're able to meet up again and talk about this, our developing stories. Rainfall exceeding 150 millimeters. I'll let you know, this actually could be more than one place. Both coasts in a very messy setup. Snowfall, 50 plus centimeters. We'll get into that, and as well, a live look at the radar. I love looking at the radar because it shows you who is seeing what, who is bracing for what kind of active weather we're into. So have a look at this. We have the bulk of the low falling over the Maritimes, but this is a retrograding low, and it's sort of sending a band of moisture, and it's putting it into Quebec and also into Ontario as well. This is not your typical textbook nor'easter. This is spreading out, and it is affecting a lot of people. This is a lot more inland than usual. So we see this snow just about to head through Ottawa. Ottawa getting into some of the heavier amounts, and this is also going to play a factor into southeastern Ontario. So let's put your eyes on the ground. Let's join Kasia Badurka. And Kasia, the ground behind you, the landscape, it's starting to change.
Yeah, we've been seeing it change through the morning hours, Rachel. And by the way, again, bundling up. My mother just texted me to scold me for not wearing a hat. So stay warm.
Okay, Kasia, thanks for that. Take the advice, stay warm, bundle up, dress for the elements, because it's a wintry mix throughout Ontario and Quebec. If you are in the Southern Maritimes, well, then it's a rain event. Lots of elements here. So let's look at this. This is going to be the story throughout Southern Ontario. 10 to 15 centimeters possible in the GTA. GTA under a special weather statement right now. That's not a big number, but it's enough. A lot of people trying to get to work, and this is going to be the timing for that. Tomorrow morning, this is when the nor'easter is going to impact you throughout Southern Ontario. Now, this is a look at the snow that has fallen as of 2 a.m. Eastern Time. Montreal 9, Quebec 2, Ottawa starting to send in their totals as well. You can see behind Kasia, the snow is starting to accumulate, and this is only the beginning. It's going to intensify. Now we can see out in Atlantic Canada where the snow is. We can see that freezing line. When the system moved through, that was a lot further south. That has now pushed to the north, Gaspé Peninsula. This is where we're really into the snow. And then anything west of that, it is going to be a snow story. Now, this is a look at some of the totals. I can tell you, though, these have been updated. Yarmouth now is around 21, St. John over 40, places like the East Point of PEI around 33, so a lot more in terms of the totals. We will get that graphic updated for you. Now, rainfall forecast highlighted in this red color. This is where we are going to see some of the most rain, some of the heaviest rainfall totals. 100 millimeters is forecasted, but we will not be surprised if it does exceed that, more in towards 120, 140 possible. So to recap, it's an active week. Look at this, the nor'easter coming through, and also the floods happening throughout BC. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back.
Fresh.
Well, thanks for starting your day with us, and yeah, start it with Subway too. Rachel Schoutsen here with you, and let's look at this. A big storm, and this is going to impact Ontario east right out through to the Maritime provinces. Temperatures slightly warmer throughout Nova Scotia. It's 9 in Halifax, but a lot cooler into Ontario and Quebec, as snow is going to be your issue, yes. And then as we look out towards the west, temperatures are fairly comfortable throughout BC. However, local states of emergency are in play due to rain and flooding.